It was 4 years ago we first told you the story of Ruth Stubbs. And tonight, our Mike Watkiss catches up with the young woman and learns how life has changed for this former polygamist bride. Mike?
Yeah, right you are, Patty. Over the years, we've done a lot of reporting on the polygamous town of Colorado City, but few stories have had the impact as the story of Ruth Stubbs, a 23-year-old mother of 4 who quite literally has rocked the world.
The girls need a choice. They need a choice whether they can get married or not.
With her blonde hair, her piercing blue eyes, and her ever-ready smile, 23-year-old Ruth Stubbs is probably not what most people think of when they think of a revolutionary.
Do you feel like a trailblazer, a pioneer?
No.
You don't?
I feel like just a normal person.
But make no mistake about it, this young mother of 4 has rocked the world. The closed and secretive polygamist world along the Utah-Arizona border.
I was scared when I came out to the outside world. I was scared and I was watching my back and wondering who's going to hurt me and who's going to hurt my kids.
Her explosive story, first told by 3 TV in February 2002. Ruth had just fled the polygamous town of Colorado City, Arizona, with her 2 oldest children and a 3rd on the way.
I felt like a slave. I didn't feel like I had any control over my life.
At the time, Ruth told us she was running from the home of her polygamist husband, a Colorado City police officer named Rodney Holm. You're a law officer. You owe, I think, some explanation. Apparently violating the law. Polygamous cop Rod Holm already had 2 wives and nearly 20 children when he was given Ruth as his 3rd wife. At the time, Rod Holm was 32 and Ruth Stubbs was 16.
I think it's wrong. I wish I wouldn't have got married when I was 16.
Why?
Because I'm too young to have 3 kids. I'm 19, and I'm too young to have 3 kids.
It was a story similar to so many girls in Colorado City, a story that Arizona and Utah officials, who for decades had turned a blind eye to polygamist wrongdoing, could not ignore. Arizona's then Attorney General Janet Napolitano started an investigation, but it was Utah's Attorney General Mark Shurtleff who followed through, prosecuting Rod Holm for bigamy and having sex with an underage girl. And in the spring of 2003, a Utah jury made history, finding Rod Holm guilty and sending him to jail.
Leave the girls that are underage alone. Don't marry underage girls.
Warren is the one that performed the marriage.
Warren Jeffs performed your marriage to Rodney Holm.
Yes.
You're 16 years of age, and he marries you to a 32-year-old man that he knows already has 2 wives.
Yes.
And you were in love with another boy.
Yep. And they knew it. I cried my eyes out at the wedding.
And perhaps even more significant than the prosecution of Rodney Holm, the impact that prosecution had on polygamous prophet Warren Jeffs. Most observers agree it was Ruth Stubbs' story that sent Warren Jeffs underground more than 2 years before criminal charges were actually filed against him. Many believe it was also what prompted Jeffs' followers to secretly go out and buy a huge tract of land in Texas and begin building a temple.
A police officer from Colorado City, Arizona was convicted, and I think it may have influenced the thinking of some of this group's leaders and made them start looking around for another place to go.
Why would Warren be so fearful when Rod Holm was charged and convicted?
Because he knew that he married a 16-year-old girl, and he's been doing it a lot. He did it a lot before me, so he knew he was in for it.
Indeed, since that time, the authoritarian prophet seems to have become increasingly paranoid, kicking dozens of men who could threaten his leadership out of the community and reassigning their wives and children to other faithful male followers.
Your opinion today of this man?
I think he's an evil man. I don't think any man of God would destroy people's lives and take families away and marry them to other men like he's doing.
And as fugitive prophet Warren Jeffs continues his run from the law and his followers continue their temple building in Texas, Ruth Stubbs rebuilding her life with her new husband, a young man who also fled Colorado City as a teenager.
I met a good guy and been with him since. Just hanging out with my kids.
In part to avoid the spotlight, for the last couple of years, Ruth and her husband Ben have been raising Ruth's 3 kids and one of their own in the state of Alaska. But recently, Ruth and her family returned to the area around the Utah-Arizona border, planning to settle and hoping that the revolution she helped start 4 years ago will ultimately bring some justice and freedom to the town of her birth.
People blame my case for it, but it needed to stop.
Patty, at its core, this story has always been about a handful of brave women like Ruth Stubbs, her famous older sister Penny Peterson, activists like Flora Jessup, and the 2 young Fawns, women who have literally changed the political landscape here in Arizona on this important issue. And Ruth Stubbs' role may not be over, because if and when Warren Jeffs is ever caught, she's likely to be called as a key prosecution witness.
Yeah, there is a warrant out for his arrest.
And Rod Holm is one of the men charged. Utah charged him because he apparently had sex with her in Utah. Arizona has now caught up. They're charging him. And Warren Jeffs, on the strength of those accusations, is now charged. She may be a factor in all of those trials.
So do you think he's in Texas?
Best guess is he's probably spending most of the time in Texas, has supporters all over the Southwest, as we have seen, has a lot of people helping him out, a lot of places he could hide.
All right. Thanks very much for that, Mike. Great story.